Hello, you're very welcome to our podcast, Unmuzzled Conversations, with me, Christine, and my brother, Stewart.
Hi there.
Every week, we are here and we are sharing our nostalgic, sometimes humorous views about Glasgow and Glaswegians from the 1940s to the present day, covering topics of that time. As well as our own memories of being brought up in Glasgow and still living in Glasgow. So put the kettle on or pour yourself a drink. Sit back and spend some time with us. Here we are on episode 2 of series 2, and this episode is called The Curfew and the Cull, and all will be made clear, hopefully, as we start. So, Stuart, we're going to go over to you and you're going to start talking about Bill.
The curfew and the cull, well, basically we're slaughtering old people, but before we do that, I have to tell you a story where we are the victims ourselves, but we deserve to get slaughtered. A couple of years ago, maybe 2 years ago, this friend of mine, Bill, I live out in the countryside now, and Bill was taking his car into Greenock to get it MOT'd. So I was doing nothing much, so I decided to go with him. So we takes the car, we drives by a McDonald's in Greenock and parks the car, takes the car in, and then we're told to come back in a couple of hours. So he walks back to McDonald's. So it's like a December day or whatever, it's in the middle of the winter anyway, and it's about 11 o'clock in the morning and there's not a soul in it. So he walks in, and this young woman, maybe about 30, she must have been a manager in there because she's wearing the black suit, black tights and the black shoes and everything like that. And she walks up to us, all smiles, and she says, "Hello, what would you like?" And I said what we wanted. And she said, "So this is a wee day out for you, is it?" So I couldn't stop laughing, even now, even though I was a victim of her sarcasm or whatever it was, or even worse, if she was being genuine. It really comes back. And I deserve that because I really am. I've always been hard on old people, and now I'm almost old myself, so I really have to calm down. But the title, The Curfew and the Cull, this about 15 years ago, this guy that I worked with, I call him John, really funny guy, and he had, I don't know what started it off. I think it started off with this friend of mine called Rab McPherson, who had a post office. And those days, people got all their benefits paid at the post office, including old age pensions. And in pension day, I think there was a specific pension day.
Yeah, it was a Monday, I think it was.
Anyway, he says he hated pension day because he used to get all these old people in. He says, and they would talk away all the time, and they would be a total nuisance. And Rab didn't get a lunch break and anything like that. So, and he was a smoker, so he used to pray to get 5 minutes peace, and then so he could have a fag. So he was going on, and what his bottom line was, he says, "I just need to see a tartan trolley and I'll go mental. I hate old people." Fair enough. That's the life he was leading. There was more stories than that, but that was anyway. So I'm telling this pal, John, at work, and he says, "Oh, I know how he feels." He says, "I hate old folk." And John would maybe be in his early 40s, and he come up with this thing. He says there should be a curfew on old folk. He says they shouldn't be allowed out of the house. He says between 8 and 10 in the morning, midday to 2 in the afternoon, and from 4 to 6. And he says that's to keep them off the road when other people who are the important people in the world, important people to the economy, have got to go to work in the morning and come back for work in the evening. And 12 to 2 is when they get their lunch break and they might go out and they might have to do things, and they don't want all folk cluttering up the fucking streets of the shops. And I thought, brilliant. It was just so funny. He put it over much funnier than that. But he tells the story about he went to Spain. So he's in Spain with his wife and their child, and he was messing about during the day, and he wasn't. Him and his wife are bickering a wee bit. So his wife says to him, "You be back here for a certain time, and we're going to go out for a meal." They'd actually booked this restaurant. So John's out and about, and here he's on his way back to meet his wife, and here he meets an old friend just out of the blue in Spain. So they get talking, and I think they go for a drink or something. Anyway, he's about an hour and a bit late to pick up his wife and his child. And his wife, who was already raging with him, is even less happy now. So she's fucking giving him a hard time. So he goes in, he quickly changes, and he goes out. So they go to the restaurant, they're sitting down and having a meal, and he goes to pay for it. And things are going a wee bit better now. His wife's softened up a bit. So he takes his wallet out, and he finds that he's left his money somewhere, or he'd run out of money. I think he was to get money. It was to get money when he was out, because he had some money but he didn't have enough, and so he only had the normal bank card. And in those days,
they didn't do bank cards.
They didn't do bank cards. No, it was or the credit card.
Oh,
he didn't have a credit card.
Right.
What am I going to do?
Yeah.
His wife said, "Just there's an ATM just a couple of 100 metres along. Go there and get money out and get back here sharpish. They're starting to look at us." So he gets in, he can see the ATM, and he's getting quite close to it, and this wee old woman just glides in front of him and planks in it. And she's looking at it, and she's not doing very well. And of course, he's in Spain, he doesn't know where she comes from. He goes, "Excuse me, can I help?" And she goes, "Oh, you're Scottish, son. Where are you from?" And he's gone, it's someplace in Ayrshire, I can't remember where it came from. And she's going, "I'm from Paisley, what do you think it here?" And he's going, it's very nice, it's very nice. But, I'm in a bit here. She goes, sorry, son. She goes, "How does this work?" He goes, "Well, it's the same as at home." She goes, No, there's a word up here, espagnol. And he goes, No, that means Spanish. She goes, "Oh, I don't speak Spanish." She goes, No, look, we'll have a look. And there's all these other flags, the UK flag and France and everything. So you put it, and the first one's obviously Espanol, Spanish, but because it's a tourist place, there's all these other different ones. So she goes, look, there's the Union Jack. You press that and it'll come up in English. She goes, "Could you do it for me, son?" Presses a button and it comes up in English. She goes, thanks very much. And she's looking at it and she goes, "Right, I need to put my card in." She's looking about for her. So I've got it, son. And she goes, "I can't see very well. Could you tap in my code?" He goes, No, I can't. I'm not allowed to know your PIN. She goes, "Oh, okay. So, and then she hits the green thing. She goes, "Oh, euros? What's euros?" "It used to be pesetas." He goes, "Aye, I know. Aye, but they changed it about 5 years ago. It's euros." She goes, "Euros? I thought they were only in France." He's going, No. Most of the EU countries are now euros." She goes, "Oh, what? How many pesetas in a euro?" No, it's a different thing. "Well, what's a euro worth then?" So it was based in the US dollar. It's just but just call it a pound, the same as a pound. She goes, "Aye, all right." And she's going on and on about it, and she's just thinking about it. And then she turns around and she finally says to him, "How much do you think I'll need?" He says, what do you think? Take 200. 200 will see you. She goes, "All right, thanks very much, sir." And she finally gets some money, and he's got to basically just go to that before they get his money. So, I think that's what started off with the whole Cull thing came to that. That is a true story.
But you need to tell us a story about the actual Cull, which was when people reached a certain age. You were talking about the curfew.
That's
my
right, so it was.
favourite bit is the actual Cull bit.
The Cull was, no, I can't remember what age it was, but say it was 80, which is fair enough.
Oh, I think it was younger than that, Stuart. Oh, I think it was 60.
No, it wasn't
70.
No,
maybe 70.
It was maybe 75. Maybe. Let's go. Let's just leave it.
Okay.
Anyway, he came up with this brilliant reason for bumping everybody off at, say, 75. He says it's fair, it's totally fair, everybody gets to live for the same amount of time. And he comes up with these brilliant theories about why, it gets rid of all these old people at the hospitals, cluttering up social services, the NHS, be brilliant. It'll be brilliant for them as well, he says, because they can save up and they know when they're going to go. And he says it doesn't have to be on their 75th birthday. He says they've got a whole year. It's just got to be before they're 71,
well So well thought out.
I thought, who could argue with that? Apart from somebody who's maybe 74.
But I thought it was brilliant, and I remember saying to one of my neighbours, I really didn't think this through very well. There was an older guy. I said, "Listen, I heard this fucking brilliant idea the other day, James," that was his name. I said, "A Cull. When you're 70, you're finished." And you get an opportunity, you're told in advance, and I gave him all the details, and you could see the colour just draining from his face. He went, "But Christine, I'm 70. I said, I know, James, it's just a story. It's not actually going to happen. You're not actually going to be culled. Don't worry, but I'm just saying what a great idea. And I told a lot of people about it. I thought it was a brilliant idea. But of course, the older I'm getting, I'm now beginning to think, nah, it's a wee bit too early.
A wee bit extreme.
A wee bit too early.
Keep it a year ahead of me.
Forever. But it's just so mental that it's so well thought out. You know what I mean? That you've got to listen because it's so well
and
thought out.
John put it so much better than I did. I mean, it was just I just gave you the absolute the bare bones of what he said, but it was so clever. And I don't know anybody in a debate. You couldn't beat him in a debate about that. It was just hilarious.
And I think he also talked about people getting sick and being a nuisance for their children and all that kind of thing. And it just was so...
you think, how
so
much
compelling.
better would the NHS be if there wasn't the old folk?
Yeah. I just thought to myself, I think that could be really quite fair. I think as long as you had a bit of notice, I think it's...
Well, you got a whole year, if nothing else.
You can... There's going to be no shocks, is there? I mean, unless, of course, you die by natural causes. Well. Absolutely. So, for me, I thought it was one of the funniest things that I'd ever heard, and I told quite a lot of people, and quite a lot of people went, oh... Just didn't they just always took it too seriously. It's very tongue-in-cheek, you know what I mean? And old people particularly seem to be not keen. But there you go. So you also have another one of my favourite stories is about the scooter, Stewart. Right, so I love that story. Okay. The best one is that one about that lady. That's the best one, but this is maybe next.
What was the lady one about?
The one you've just told us about, the auto teller lady.
Oh, aye. Right, this happened to me. This is a true story. About 10 years ago, I decided to do a tour of North Africa. I was actually going to spend a lot of time in North Africa, but I wasn't there. I was only there a couple of months, and it turned out I had heart problems. I ended up having a heart attack. But I wasn't feeling bad. I was just feeling tired all the time. So my wife Geraldine phones me up and she says, "Look, just go over to Malta." I was in Tunisia at the time. Just go over to Malta and stay there for a while till you feel better. So I'm okay, I'll do that.
Could you have family in Malta?
Yeah, but that wasn't the reason I went there, though. I mean, we had Michelle there. Our daughter Michelle was there, but I mean, it was nice to see her. But I wasn't going to plank myself on her.
Yeah,
I just spent a couple of days there, and
was this just to give you some rest and a nice place to stay, kind of thing?
I just at the beginning, and I just looked about, and I got a hotel and I stayed. Yeah. So anyway, I get to this hotel, which is really quite nice, but it's fucking full of old folk. It's just old folk everywhere, and this was about March, so it's pre the normal people's, summertime. It's
but that's when old people go away for the winter, isn't it, Stuart? That kind of winter time.
There's all these old folk. And this is another reason that I became so prejudiced against old people, is that I really like music. I like watching music. I would rather watch somebody who isn't that good than just listen to somebody brilliant. I like watching people play. So in the hotel I was staying in, there was a guy who played every Thursday or something, played the piano, and he sang on, a Maltese guy. And he was quite good. He was definitely worth watching. So I thought, I'm going to go and watch this guy. So I goes in, and of course I buys a pint, and there's maybe only about 10 people in it. All them all old people, right? And not one of them bought a drink. Every one of them walked in with a plastic carton of water. Now, I wouldn't have thought you couldn't do that in the UK. You wouldn't be allowed to take your own drinks, even in maybe in a hotel bar, could you? I don't know. But you couldn't do. Obviously, could do.
I think if you're a resident, you maybe could. But if you were just coming in off the street, no, I don't.
Anyway,
think so.
I felt it totally disrespectful to the musician, and they're just sitting, and they sat there the whole night. Maybe they brought another carton in, but there wasn't a lot of cartons of water. They just all had one at one time. And I was the only person in the bar who ever went up to the bar and bought a drink. So I had about 4 pints of Stella, which for me is quite a lot. So during the guy's break, I decided I'll need to go to the toilet here. So I'm walking through it. And because it was quite kind of early in the season, I don't know why, they didn't have all the lights on. So I'm walking about, and I'm feeling slightly tipsy. I've had 4 pints of Stella. So I'm walking towards the toilet, and it's all a marble floor, and it's dark marble. It's not even black, because if it's black you can see. I know it sounds daft, but when it's all kind of different colours, different dark colours, it just merges. So I'm walking along, fucking right over something, fucking right over, face hitting the ground on the marble. And what the fuck was that? And I turns around, and it was a fucking scooter. These old people's scooter. fuck's sake, who would leave this scooter here? And I thought, it must be somebody in the toilet that's left it there. So I'm fucking walking in, I'm looking about to see if anybody's in. I'm fucking battered and bruised. Fucking nobody's here. And so I remembered where the scooter was, because it was actually quite dark. And because I put the lights on in the toilet and it's blazing away. So I used the toilet and I come out again. And by this time, my eyes are even worse. I hit another fucking scooter. Just about 2 metres away from it. I didn't fall this time. And I clattered it. And I was like, what the fuck? And then anyway, I kind of waits and I look round, and there's actually 2 or 3 scooters just abandoned in the hallway. Fuck. What is that about? And you think, this is a health hazard if nothing else. And there's all these folk who are actually walking about who are really frail. And nothing happened about it. Anyway, I goes back and I watched this guy, and I was horrified that people would actually do that, disrespect somebody so much. They're on holiday. Even if they bought one drink, it would be something. And I don't know how the guy could have went through his night just looking at these folk who were basically just killing time watching them.
That's a bit sad, isn't it? My story about a scooter is that, first of all, now that I'm waiting on my hip replacement and I'm hobbling about the place, I'm looking at scooters with different eyes now. I have to say that, a wee bit longingly thinking, God, my life would be so different if I could get a scooter, just even a loaner one, just for a couple of years to get my hip replacement. But I was telling Stewart that I had an old neighbour up the road who has passed away, but when he was here, he himself wasn't keeping very well and said, Christine, I'm going to look at new scooters and I need you to come with me. And I suddenly thought to myself, is this my life now? And a Friday afternoon, I'm going to help pick out a scooter for him. And there we are, standing in the mobility showroom saying, I don't know if I like the roof. I don't know if I like the roof on that one. You're going, oh, for fuck. Is this where I've landed? Yes, it was. But so I'm maybe not as harsh about scooters now as I once was, because of Christ, I could be doing the one now. Honestly, I could, yeah. Okay. But just talking about old people and how we're really hammering them now, we're being a wee bit savage. I did want to mention that because this has happened to somebody that I know who is strong and very vocal and very capable, and now has to take some medication and finds themselves with the side effects of the medication to becoming quite dotery, and so kind of saying to me, I'm walking into rooms now and going, what am I doing in here? What am I in? I said, Christ, I do that every day. I didn't think this morning. I didn't think that really was a thing. I thought that was just a normal way of living. Absolutely. So I do think there's that about older people too. For we are extremely lucky that we are healthy and don't need to take any serious medication at all. And although you've had some issues, you're absolutely fine and healthy, and we're very lucky because not everybody is healthy like us. But I do think that the side effects of some of the medication that you have to take, because without it you're not going to be able to function,
basically
can be quite
severe.
Aye. And I think some of it can make you a wee bit dotery and a wee bit forgetful. I know that I'm not taking medication, but I have to take painkillers, and they make me tired, and I'm not supposed to drive, and I'm falling asleep and thinking, I haven't done anything. How on earth can I be wanting to sleep? But it's just because of the side effects. So I think we need to throw that in there.
I also think that we have to accept, even though we don't look old. Mind you, I'm nearly blind. Remember, I look great. I think I look great. I remember, when you were young. Well, men anyway. See, when you're young, you walk by skips, and it's a skip. See, when you get older, you look in a skip and you think, fuck, I could use that.
Wonderful thing, treasures.
How can I get to that big bit of wonder? Fucking something stupid like that. And I remember another time when I was young, my dad would take us to the, I don't think it was a B&Q then, but maybe MFI. There was some place like that sold tools and things like that. And I'd be walking about going, for fuck's sake, how long are we going to be here? This is fucking awful. I was like Kevin the teenager going, oh, fuck, I can get here quick enough. And then now when I go in, I go, oh, look at that. And when I go into Aldi's, I look at all the toys, all the tools.
Oh,
and I'm like, oh, that's brilliant. I can maybe use it. I'm now like Homer Simpson, where I've got all these tools that I've still got the price tags on them. They'll never be used. All my kids will inherit all these tools.
Bet they can't wait, eh?
And another thing I've got to remember is that, remember McCormick's, the famous music shop in Bath Street? It was always beautifully set up. And it was always the most, especially guitars. It was beautiful instruments. saxophones, beautiful instruments in it. I used to always watch and look at them. So I'd love to have these. Love to be able to play them. They're just beautiful. But after a few years ago, I was walking by, what was the name of the big ironmongers? Just a Crockett's, and I was admiring the lawnmowers.
It's a bad
sign.
I know it's a really bad sign.
That's a right sleek looking one. I wonder how wide the blade is. That's the criteria for it.
Oh God, right. You've lost me there. You lost me at I wonder.
And it's still, and it must show you it's all for old people because the sizes of the blades are all imperial. It's all at 26 inches or 28 inches. It's not like, 50 centimetres or anything like that, So it's obviously
really
for the
home.
older people.
I would be feeling really at home with that. I mean, I used to have quite a lot of old people living quite close to me, and I used to see them, maybe coming out their house, especially in the summertime. And I think, oh fucking, I'd get underneath in case they would look up at the window and they would catch me, and because you can't get away from them because they want to talk your ears off. And now I'm one of them, because I've been going to the gym a couple of times and people have foolishly said, hello, how are you doing? And 10 minutes later, they're still stuck with me because I can't stop talking because I live on my own and I've got nobody to talk to. And even people casually when I've been in the gym and probably looking at me thinking, she's quite old, better check, she's all right. But of course they do it once and they never ever
that was a
do
mistake.
it again, fucking run. Oh, there she. So the last time I was there, I noticed that people that have spoken to me in the past, I noticed them just coming out of a door, spotting me coming in and turning right round and going. And I kind of had a wee laugh to myself because I said, well, there you go. Mm-hmm. There you go.
You deserve it.
The boot is on the other foot now. Uh-huh. So they're running away for you now after all the times that you ran away for other people. But I think it's just part of getting older. I think that one of the things about being retired is one of the key things about enjoying retirement as older is about having good health to be able to do that. And, I was thinking back to the days when my dad retired, our dad retired, and how many people at that time would retire and almost die within a year.
Especially men, Christy.
Especially men.
Right.
Do you think that was to do, I think it was to do with the industry, was it not? Because people worked physically very hard then. Do you think that's what it was?
I think it was, but our dad had a lot of interests.
Yeah.
And I remember, again, going back to the printing industry, and when I was young, say a teenager, I think most people had to retire. When you were 65, that was you out the door. I don't think you were given the choice. And anyway,
was it ever 60, Stuart? Was that?
No, it was women.
It was women. Was that the women at 60?
It was women at 60.
Right.
And men at 65. And I remember, the big guys, you'd be at the retirement doing 2 years later, they would be dead.
Yeah.
But their mistake was that they hadn't prepared for it. And they didn't have any hobbies or interests that were outdoor. I mean, see, like the guys who did fishing or golfing and things like that, they generally were all right because they could go and play, and it didn't cost you a lot of money. If you were already a member of a golf club, basically it didn't cost you anything to play at golf all day or at certain times of the day. So you could go and do that. And just these two particular hobbies, there are lots of books on golf and fishing. So you didn't need to be actually playing it to keep your interest up. There's all sorts of things.
And they were kind of like almost all year round hobbies. I mean, people that golf in most kind of weathers. And it's the same with fishermen. But I was thinking about, what did they call it when you had a little vegetable place? Right. So our dad had a plot as well, and he was interested in that, and he grew rhubarb, and he grew
tons of things. Cabbages
potatoes
and
cabbages and things like that, yeah. So I think having that kind of thing is important. And he was also very interested in the garden. So, and he was also, I think, if I can remember correctly, quite a self-disciplined person.
Yes, he was.
And he would he wouldn't be sitting like me watching the telly all day long. He wouldn't be able to do that. He would need to get up and get out and do things. And of course, he became a marathon runner.
That's right.
Remember?
So he did in
his
60s.
older years, after he got his. Was it a triple bypass he got? I was telling Cam and Mark, because Mark's had a triple bypass, and I was saying how our dad, I think after that, I remember him saying to me, it was about, this is like another gift I've got. I've been guaranteed almost another 10 years of life here, and I'm going to make the most of it. That I don't know if he said it in those words, but it was that kind of a thing, and that's when he really started to do his running, and which for some people might be quite extreme to do something as extreme as that. But I think he was determined to really enjoy and get the best out of the other years that he had been given because of that operation.
Well, there's just something else I was thinking of. About 5 years ago, I took another one of my trips to North Africa, and I was going to go. I went to Marrakesh, and I was going to go to Mali, Timbuktu in Mali, which is the next country down, and quite dodgy. But anyway, I was going to go there, and then I got a phone call for Geraldine to say I had to go back. So I was only there for about 2 weeks.
That's right.
To go back and get an operation, which I did.
Yeah.
But before that, I spent 3 days in the Sahara, and it was a really good thing. It was a proper big tents, and it was really well
like
done.
Like an organised.
But I mean, it took you 6 hours from Marrakesh to get to the place. It
on
wasn't
a camel, Stuart?
Well, I wasn't a camel eventually. I mean, you're on a bus. There was four buses with about 15 people in them. So it was about maybe by the time all the staff and that who were already there, staff, they were just local Arab guys, and so there was maybe about 70 people in this one big tent. And we were in our 4 groups of, say, 15 or 16 people. I was just talking about, and another thing it's worth remembering, or talking about, is it was people from all over the world, but they all spoke English. Every single person that I bumped to could speak English. There's people from every continent, every country. And so I'm in my group, and I'm 15 people. And there's maybe most people were on their own. There was the odd couple, but most people were solo travellers like me. So because I'm so old, I'm at least twice everybody else's ages. And I'm obviously a bit of interest to them. And this guy says to me, "Oh, sure, what made you come here?" And I says, I've been to Africa a few times and like a wee adventure. "Oh, right. It's fine." And wait, see if you don't mind me asking. I've said that till I was 68 or something. Right. So, and are you married? I says, "Oh, I'm married. Have you got a family?" I says, "Oh, yeah. Oh, that's brilliant." I said, "Do they not mind you coming here?" I says, "No, absolutely not. No, they're quite happy that I come here," which wasn't true. Some of them weren't happy, but anyway. No. But I went anyway. So it was just asking me questions, and they were fine. They wasn't aggressive. They were just asking quite friendly questions. They said, "What about your wife? Does she not want to come here?" I said, "Oh, no, Geraldine will come here. She doesn't like spiders or snakes, and then she wouldn't come here." I said, "So it's just much easier for me to come. It's just my wee solo adventure that I do them every couple of years." Right, okay. And what kind of holidays does your wife go? And I says, "Oh, she likes cruises." I says, "So she's really a cruise person." But what yourself? Do you not like cruises? I said, "I don't like cruises." He said, "Why is that?" I says, "I fucking hate old people." so fucking uproar in the place. They're all killing themselves laughing. And then they started saying, so they're all talking about their ages, right? And then the next oldest person to me who claimed he was this age, right, was a couple of women who said they were 25. I would have added 15 years on to them, but whatever. But the oldest person under me was a Mormon guy who was 28, and he looked about 18. His wife looked about 16, and I think she was 26 or 27. Wow. But I mean, they don't drink alcohol, they drink coffee or tea. Yeah, they'll probably live till about 200.
Yeah.
But it was a very interesting, but it was quite strange to be in a place where there's maybe 70 people and you're twice the age of the oldest person there. But they were really good. They really treated me with total respect.
Very respectful,
and just treated me
just
like everybody else. Well, why are you here? Why are you daft enough to be here? But it was fine. But again, that was a bit of an opener, to realise it's different when you're. I'm diversifying, but I'm just thinking again when you're talking about our mum and dad in Knightswood. I remember when they lived in Knightswood, I'm thinking to myself, you add 15 years onto this, and they'll all be gone. There'll be nobody in Knightswood. Yeah. Of that age, they'll all be gone. And
well, that's very true, that's what's happening now, because all the houses that were sold are even the council houses, because it's a big mixture of both. It's all young family, which is how it should be, because Knightswood is a nice area for parks and for schools and good bus services and
big wide roads as well.
And one of the things I wanted to talk again about was about retirement, because I don't know if you remember that story I told you about. I started a new job, and somebody said to me on my first day, I think his name was Jim, he's in the maintenance department, and he said, "Oh, hi, how do you do? I'm retiring in 10 months, 4 weeks, la, 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 la." And this was his countdown all the time. So every day, you think, "Oh, fuck, here we go, one day less, let's Jim." And so the day finally dawned when Jim did retire, and within 2 weeks he was gone. Because I used to say to him, "And what are you going to do when you retire? What will that day look like for you when you retire, when you've not got to come in here and you don't need to get up, set your alarm, and you've got all this freedom and la la la." And he said, and he looked at me with complete amazement as to why I would ask him such a question. He said, "Well, probably watch the telly and that." I said, "And well, do you think you'll do anything other than that? No. I said, oh, okay. And I think within 2 weeks, if I can remember, he maybe didn't die, but I think he had depression or something like that. And I just thought to myself how sometimes people are blindsided or mystified by retirement. They think it's some kind of mystical situation that you'll be in. Because number one, you need good health, and number two, you need money.
Yes, you do.
If you haven't financially prepared for your retirement, you might be in trouble. You're certainly not going to have such a good retirement as somebody who has saved and is in a situation to really make the most of it. So I think that these are things you can do something about. You can do something about your own health. You can make sure that you're fit and you're strong and you're eating well and exercising and stuff like that, as well as preparing financially for. But I just think that so many people, even people of my age that are, over retirement age, just don't really have an idea of what this is all about in terms of mentally preparing, or like you said earlier, having hobbies or something that they will now go from being a hobby to be something that they're doing more regularly because they enjoy it, and now they've got the free time to do that.
And if you think about it, I mean, this is one of the things that I miss because I live totally in the countryside, in the middle of nowhere, is that there are so many evening classes that are basically free. And you could learn a language, you could, do something with your car, you could do art. There's all these things that are available to you. And it's just a shame that especially older people don't go to them. Maybe feel a wee bit intimidated, because you'd be the oldest person by miles in a class, but you should still do it. Our dad would have done it.
Oh, absolutely. He would have never let anything like that put him off. No. I remember when he got a computer, and it was I think it was the old Apple. What were they called? They were called Macintoshes.
No,
or Macs.
It wasn't because I got.
What was it, Stuart?
It was
a big back on it.
It was.
Remember the first ones with the big backs like that? It was just one of the
kind of common ones, the normal ones. It wasn't a Mac.
Was it just a small? It was quite a small face. Am I thinking that?
That wasn't a Mac. No.
It was quite a small face. I seem to think it was very early.
It was a desktop. It was a desktop.
Desktop, right?
Computer,
but I remember him was really struggling. And although he was a typist, remember he could type. He had his own typewriter, but he really struggled with He did, but he still kept trying, and he still never gave up.
No.
And I mean, I remember one of the times I came round to visit him, and I could hear him talking in the house. I says, "Oh, he must have a visitor in there." So I walk in fully expecting to see somebody else, but he's actually learning Arabic. He's learning Arabic, and it was one of those ones where they say on the tape something and you have to repeat it. And he was, sort of trying to get these words and put them into sentences. What was it called again?
It was something phone. It was called. Was that
something
company?
Audio?
The company was something phone. Doesn't matter. But they did all these languages.
I do remember when he was in. He was a big Holland and Barrett man. Do you remember that? It was where he went for his vitamins and all that kind of thing. And there was a big Holland and Barrett's in St Vincent Street in those days. And he liked to go into the town when he was well enough and go and get them and see what new things there would be. What new. But often you would find some Middle Eastern people in there, maybe buying the dates or this or that, and he would just be the happiest person in the world because he wanted to speak in Arabic. You can imagine what it was like for young couples to see this old guy with his cap on, desperate to run up to them and talk to them in Arabic because he just had learned it, and he couldn't practice it on anybody. So I think when he retired, he seemed to be full of stuff to do. I don't know, was that when he took up his painting? And I think it was maybe before that. He was painting before that. But he was training for the marathons, and that was like an every night thing, and as much as possible.
Filled your day training
definitely, for that. Definitely. My mother used to say, "I'm a marathon widow." That's what she used to say. But he would be the ideal type of man. They didn't have a lot of money though when they retired, and I think.
But I think they managed it. They used the time and their money well. Doing outdoor things, and I'm just going back to. Again, what I'd said about a lot of the men that retired at 65 were completely unprepared. A lot of them went to the pub at 11 in the morning, and
really?
And as you said, it costs a lot. When you've got a full day.
It's an expensive hobby, that.
Aye, well, you've got a full day to fill your time in. Yeah. And, if maybe especially guys who are widowers or bachelors, you go to the pub, you'll always meet people. Drinkers always meet other drinkers, and you could sit there all day and that, you might enjoy it, but it's not going to do you any favours.
And unless you have a lot of money, that is an expensive thing to be doing every day. I mean, I think our parents went out for walks. And another thing back in the day was going for a drive on a Sunday. That was a thing, wasn't
Sunday
it?
Drivers.
Sunday drivers.
Sunday drivers.
Aye.
But just driving about, so doing 30 mile an hour.
I can't even remember.
Loch Lomond.
Aye. I think we used to go to Helensburgh. I can't actually remember.
Used to go to Helensburgh a lot. Yeah.
And Helensburgh's quite near for them. It's about maybe a 25-minute drive to be right in Helensburgh and having the fish and chips and all that. So I think retirement can be an absolutely brilliant time in your life. And I think as well because so many older people now are looking younger, feeling better, generally quite healthy people, are working. So a lot of people are working, maybe some because they need the money, but also because they just want to be out and about and doing things now. So I think there's a lot more older people in the workforce now that are more than capable of working and want to do that and want to keep meeting people and want to be a part of something else, is particularly, as I say, if they live on their own. So I think that's a nice thing to see.
Well, plus the health thing as well, is that people, I mean, I've had 2 major health problems and I'm fine. I'm absolutely fine. And Tommy's the same, friend Tommy. And he's totally recovered. And so 20 years ago, that probably wasn't going to happen. But you'd certainly maybe not died, but you'd have had, a much more restricted lifestyle.
And in the wee pain class that I go to, there's a lady there who's 70. You would never believe in 1,000 years she was 70. She looks absolutely incredible. And she hasn't really prepared very well financially for her retirement, but wants to work, and she's got 3 part-time jobs. And but she's doing I think she works in the box office and the theatre, and she's quite nice, kind of interesting jobs as well. And she said, but it's just quite interesting how many people there are like me and still working in the economy and still.
I think the money is definitely a huge factor, Christine. But I think if you're meeting people, you're actually you're interfacing with the human race.
It's a big factor when you get older.
It's a big
definitely,
thing. About 15 years ago, I was self-employed, and again, where I live in the middle of nowhere, and my wife Geraldine was working away Monday to Friday, and I was lucky. I was fully employed. I would work 8 hours a day and was getting paid every hour that I was working.
And you were working from home?
Yes, I was working from home, and it was great. And I had 2 big dogs, and I would take them, 2 walks a day. But you do miss people.
Yeah.
And I noticed that, especially in the winter, Scottish winters, we're talking from 4 o'clock to 9 o'clock in the morning almost, and it's a long night. So if that's what you're like day in and day out, and if you were doing that, say I was doing that, and I was in that situation, but I wasn't working, I wasn't earning any money, I think you could go down very quickly.
Yeah.
And I knew a guy years and years ago who had that sad thing, that seasonal thing, Yes. And I thought, fuck it. Just made up that, but after work, and again, I'm not complaining about the situation I was in. I was very lucky, and I was happy to be making quite a lot of money. But I then realised, that I felt a difference not speaking to any people.
Yeah,
and that it was because of the winter, because there's nothing wrong. No people can buy. People generally don't move about much in the winter in really rural areas, and I remember thinking, I feel quite a bit of sympathy for you now, because I'm making money doing this and you're just stuck in the house.
I mean, I can really relate to that, because I do work from home, but I don't speak to anybody sometimes for days on end, and particularly not so much in the summer, because I speak to my neighbours in the summer, but in the winter, nearly everybody I know is much younger than me, and they're all working full time, and they've all got quite serious jobs. So I do spend a lot of time on my own. So I try to sort of dispel that by going into the park, and at least. But the last few days I've not been able to, because I'd actually went out and the rain was so heavy that within less than 5 minutes I was completely drenched, and I thought, this is. But in an ordinary day, not a day like that. But of course, when you arrive in the park, you're greeted by "Oh, Christine, we've not seen you for ages. Thought maybe something had happened to you. Are you all right?" Yeah, thanks.
That's the kind of folk
very
look
much.
at the deaths every day.
Aye. Oh, I'm not so good. I'm not so good, and so you're greeted by all that, but you think, well, that's just the way it is. People just want to talk about their medication, and they want to talk about the strength of their medication, and they've changed it, and all those kind of things. So.
Well, as I said to you before, I've got these meds. I've got these 4 meds for my heart problem, right? And I know that one of them's an aspirin,
right?
But I don't know what the rest is, and I deliberately don't know because I don't want somebody. Everybody say, "What are you on?" I say, "I don't know. I got an aspirin, but I don't know what the rest is." Oh, right. Because just as you say, I've heard people saying, and what's your dosage?
It's like
40. I'm on 120. Yeah. You don't know how lucky you are.
It's like a competitiveness kind of thing.
There was, as I said, all the people near me are old. And it was a wee while ago, I speak to this guy who was walking by, and I said, "How are you doing?" What a fucking mistake that was.
Yeah.
I was listening. I'm despite that I swear all the time, I am generally a very polite person.
Yes, you are.
And I really couldn't just say, "I'm going into a coma here. You're going to wake me up when you stop talking." But it's made me think, Christ, don't you ever do that, Stuart? Just give the briefest of answers. Basically, just say, "I'm fine." Even if I'm not fine, I'm not going to tell anybody the meds I'm on or when I got them, or often I go to the doctors. But
I think as well there is, and I relate to this because it's really, this is how I live as well. If you don't speak to anybody regularly, you're almost pouncing on people to speak to them. Because I told you about me at the gym. I know.
Just speak English.
The funniest thing that older people say, I don't know if I say it, I must check myself if I say this, to cut a long story short. You think to yourself, if this is a fucking short version here, I could have died with boredom here, standing listening to this. So I think there is an element of that people maybe haven't seen anybody and they just want to tell you.
You can't blame me. My wife's always saying to me, "You're so impatient. You should just listen to people." I'm 73 years old nearly. I'm not got the time for this. I tell you, I've got to, maybe we're coming to the end, but I'm just going to tell you one other slaughtering old person story.
Right, the last one.
Okay, right. This is about 10 years ago, and I was working in Charing Cross, and it was in the summer, and it was a beautiful day, a really, really warm day. This is why I remember, because we don't get very many of them. And I remember going down to there's a shop. It was a post office. It was a huge, huge shop in Charing Cross. It's probably still there. So I went down there to get, I think I was getting my passport renewed or something. Mm-hmm. And I think what you did, you went in and if you paid another $5 or something, somebody checked it for you.
Oh.
Which is quite a good idea. They check it and basically, so they'll just sign it and it goes and you're basically guaranteed it'll come back and it's cool. So anyway, right. I was in the queue, so I had to get it done. So I'm in the queue and it's going really slow. I'm fucking old folk fucking chatting away and telling so it's finally this woman in front of me, and I hadn't really. She was an elderly person, so I never really noticed what she was wearing. And so, the person behind the counter, she's very, she's chatty, but she's totally polite, and she's quite brisk. And she says, "Great weather, eh?" She goes, "No, I don't like this. It's too hot." And I'm looking at her, and she's wearing a big fucking woolen coat and a hat. And I felt like. How many days a year? Maybe do we get 10 days a year like this? And you're saying it's too hot, and you're covering your whole body with woolen
winter
stuff.
Gear.
Maybe someday I'll be doing that.
Well, you need to keep a check on yourself. This is what I keep saying to myself as well. And I know I need to watch myself because I don't really. There are lots of days where I don't see anybody at all, so I know I need to. Keep an eye, because I don't want to turn into them. I know I can, so I just need
when people run away.
Aye. Well, it's happened. It's definitely happened.
Christine.
Easy.
You clear the street, you're walking up your street.
And then you're kind of like that. The horns of a dilemma. Do I head for the park and start getting into all this medication stuff and maybe need to write down, because let's see what you're on, all this very intensive. You
get your prescription on you.
Intensive questioning. Or do I grab this person here and know that they'll talk about me because I'm going to talk their ears off? So that is what we think anyway. That is what we think anyway. And please remember, it's just a wee tongue-in-cheek conversation. So that
sure,
brings
when we get
us...
old, we'll think differently, Christine.
Maybe. We're not there yet, are we? No. Are we there yet?
I've got at least a decade.
Very reassuring. So that brings us to the end of this episode. Thank you so much. Sorry, Tommy's not here with us. He's had to rush off tonight. So
he's got things to do.
He's a busy guy. He's a busy guy. So thanks very much for joining us tonight. It's always absolutely brilliant to have your company. We're so pleased that you are enjoying the podcast. Fantastic. So next time we see you, we're going to have our Christmas special, I think. So remember, you can find our podcast on Spotify, on YouTube, and you can also look at our reels on TikTok, Facebook, and Instagram. So thanks again for your company today, and we'll see you next time.
Cheerio then.
Bye.
Bye now.